Hello everybody, this is BigPimpinPokemon, and today we are back with part 3 for the Creepypasta reading. This will probably not be the last part, there'll probably be a part 4, but, you know, same gig, let's get in there. Finally, a very dim sort of map came onto the screen, but it looked almost like it was just static. What's going on? Squinted down and realized with a fearsome pang that it was actually Mount Silver map. But what I thought was static was heavy falling snow. So this was where he'd saved his last game. I checked his party. Very normal team for someone who'd been using a Game Shark, Typhlosion, Feraligatr, Meganium, Pidgeot, Tyranitar, Lugia. All level 100 with modded moves. Typical. Something about the sprites was strange though. They seemed sullen in a way. Their colors seemed washed out and their expressions lacked the usual vigor they normally had. I chalked this up to missing pixels or something, also due to the hacking. The map had brightened up, just a little. When I closed out of the start menu, indeed, snow was somehow falling very heavily. Pixels danced across the screen so fast it was hard to see the little sprite that was my brother's character. Something was off about him, too. When I checked the information, it was the same as the Pokemon. Colors were dull. In fact, now that I think about it, he almost looked frostbitten. My stomach tightened. I turned and tried to move back down the mountain. As I hit the bottom of the screen, words popped up and there was finally a sound. My sprite hitting an invisible wall. Can't turn back now. That was unsettling. I went to my Pokemon and tried to use Pidgeot's fly ability. I can't fly in this, obviously referring to the snow. Whatever. I went into his bag. There was an escape rope. I tried using it. I can't go back anymore. What's going on? Once again, tried to walk back down the mountain, and to my horror, the words changed with every attempt. I can't run away. I can't go back now. I can never go back. The last one sent a chill through my spine. Sent a chill through my heart. There was no way down the mountain. I had to climb. Turning the little sprite around, I moved him forward. No resistance at all, though my walking speed was pretty slow. What was truly weird was the lack of grass, trainers, anything. But that white snow, which still blew across the screen and made it almost impossible to see. As I moved further up the mountain, his walking speed became slower and slower. The static curtain of pixels grew thicker, so that I could barely make out the features of the map, but it seemed like the only way to move was straight ahead. I reached what looked like a set of stairs at the very top edge of the screen. I didn't remember this being here before. As I tried to move up, the little sprite paused. I'm cold. By now, I was getting goosebumps. His walking speed painfully slow, as if somehow he was being impeded. Up the little staircase. More text on the screen. Meganium has died. What? Pokemon don't die in these games. I checked my party and was frightened and confused by what I saw. Meganium's sprite had been replaced by a red X. All of my other Pokemon sported varying degrees of damage, though I hadn't battled once. Went to my bag and found one revive. So, I used it. It's too late, it said. What kind of Easter egg is this? There wasn't much else I could do. Trying to turn around, it yielded the same message as before, so I kept moving. Pidgeot has died. I checked again. Sure enough, there was a little red X. This time I selected it and looked at the Pokemon itself, trying to figure out what was wrong. I wish I didn't. The sprite was mangled, pieces of it missing, splotched with a sickish blue-gray color. Its eyes were just a solid black pit. Flipped down to Meganium, Same deal. Leg missing, chunk of its neck, most of its head, save that pitch black dead eye. Morbid curiosity urged me onward, and the path never deviated from the straight upward road I'd traveled the entire time. Along the way, every now and then, another party Pokemon would die, and the examination of its sprite would show, and it was in the same condition as the others. Until all that was left, it was just Typhlosion. One more staircase up ahead. Climbed it, braced for whatever awaited me. I hit the summit. It was deserted. Red was nowhere to be found. The snow stopped. It was the very center of the map. There was something sticking out of the snow. It looked like a Pokeball. Okay, maybe all this stuff leads up to something climactic. Final battle using whatever was in there. If I picked it up, maybe Red would come out of hiding. I walked over and examined it, and there was a burst of static noise from my game that made me jump. What appeared on the screen was a battle animation. My trainer sprite appearing, his skin tinged blue, against another mangled Pokemon sprite. It was Celebi. In the center of the black hole there was his eye, a single red dot burned out like an ember. The thing looked rotted. I didn't even throw out my mostly dead Typhlosion before it had moved. Celebi used Perished Song. A screech came out of the Game Boy. Almost dropped it as the screen went white. A part of me was relieved, thinking that my final Pokemon had been KO'd and I would be transported to a Pokemon Center. But I was wrong. My sprite reappeared in what looked like a cave. Was I now inside the mountain? I checked my trainer card. Felt sick. The sprite was just mauled as the Pokemon had been. A leg gone. Single eye remaining. Pitch black and so sad looking. Tears welled up at the corner, and every color on him was replaced by those 6 shades of frosty blue and gray. Every stat on the card was reduced to 0, except the time, which still read 999.99. Quickly moved back to the map. His sprite there mimicked the horror it had become on the trainer card. Pieces were missing, everything discolored. I started trying to walk, and at first I received a message. It's so cold. There was only one direction to go, upward. I moved on, and every now and then I'd be stopped by a message that made my heart sink lower and lower. Mother, it feels so cold. I can't go on. The walls, as I walked, became darker and darker until they were pitch black at the end. There was an exit there, marked only by a white outline. I had no other choice but to go through. It opened into a chamber that was also solid white. The only way to distinguish the walls was a thin gray line that marked them as separate from the floor. Against the far wall there was another sprite, Red's, intact. I'd come this far. I had to finish. I walked up to him and hit A. A battle started. Red's sprite had none of the deformities that marred my own. Colors were the same, blues and grays, but he was intact. He just looked extremely sad. His first Pokemon came out, Venusaur. It was just like my own, but level 0, with a speck of health. I sent out Typhlosion, who had just 6 HP left. No Pokemon made a sound when they were brought into battle. Venusaur used Struggle. There was no animation, just a single point of damage done to Typhlosion. Then the opposing sprite dropped off the screen. Venusaur has died. There was no text asking me to switch out. Instead, there was just what I took to be dialogue from Red. Nothing. His next Pokemon was Blastoise, even more mangled than Venusaur had been. It too struggled and died. After each round there was that ominous ... from their trainer. Every sprite was more damaged than the last. His Espeon barely distinguishable as a Pokemon. I realized somewhere he was sending them out all in order, which had saved one Pokemon for last. Pikachu. It was grotesque. It was discolored, frostbitten, missing an ear, half its body, its tail. Its head was mostly intact, but its eyes were much larger than they should have been. Glared at me. Pitch black windows of what were his eyes. But the thing that got me most was the giant smile that extended almost all the way to the edges of his head. Its health was somehow a zero, or at least looked that way. My hands were shaking. Didn't get a chance to attack. Pikachu used Pain Split. Pikachu has died. Typhlosion has died. It cut back to the image of Red Sprite, and now it looked like mine. With its body so butchered it looked like a carcass stripped of most of its meat, except it has those same soulless, deranged eyes just as Pikachu had. I finally understood what happened. They were dead. They were dead, and the sub-level of the mountain was where they existed. Red finally spoke. It's over. The screen flashed black and white for a moment. Use Destiny Bond. A horrible, hideous screeching started to issue from the Game Boy. The screen went white, and it shrieked at me. And I threw it to the floor and pressed my back against the bed. The horrible noise continued for several long moments while the screen stayed white. Then it went black. Then there was silence. Took me a long few moments, but I eventually stood up, took the Game Shark, took the notebook, I took that possessed game. I picked them all up, carried them to the garbage we had already set out for the morning pickup, at the end of our long, winding driveway, and I threw them in. When I got back to the house, I don't know what made me do it, but I picked up the yellow and inserted it into my Game Boy. I think it was part of me determined to make sure that I somehow hadn't been tainted as well. The music started up, game played, turned on to my Pikachu and hit A. The smiling face greeted me with an ear twitch and a big pixelated smile, a pleasant, normal smile. Turned my game off, spent the next hour crying on the floor. My brother and I never did play Pokemon ever again. He gave it up for good. I stuck to replaying my comforty, unhacked games. That winter, the snow fell thick. We're done. Well, guys, that was the Creepypasta reading for Snow on Mount Silver. I thought it was pretty good. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments below. I'm not going to tell you the address. It'll be in the description below. Go check it out. It's a good read. And most of all, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm at 10 subscribers. You know, that's not the most in the world. But just to know that 10 people like to watch my videos, that's the greatest. Thanks a lot, guys. If you like these videos and you're not subscribed, drop a subscribe below and left hook that like button like Mike Tyson in his prime. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Talk to y'all later. Peace. Oh, wait. No. Almost forgot to mention. We're going to play some nice little friendly music in the background here, so tone down that scary level. Let's do it. Talk to y'all later. Peace.